Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We got myself.
Shama your mama.
And we got special guest Josh Hokit is going to be joining us, breaking down his fight and the rest of the banger fights on this White House card. Yeah, only not to dox our own location, Tyler, but this is going on about 30 miles from us. Today's Thursday. Tomorrow, I'm going to be going into D.C. I'll be at the Lincoln Memorial Friday night for the press conference. Hopefully, they ask you some questions, Josh. But this is an exciting week for fight fans.
Kev, I want to tell you a story real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Once upon a time, on a starry night in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a group of gentlemen in, I believe the date was July 4th, 1776, gathered around a table, and they created arguably one of the greatest experiments of a country that has ever existed. And I believe that Josh Hokit yelling "Chama your mama" in front of the capital of said country to a Brazilian man who is trying to get his third belt in the UFC is the natural conclusion of what America needs to be. God bless it. This is going to be fun. I cannot wait. Oh my God, this is hype.
Hey, if we're really going out, this is a great way for America to go out. Going out on top, one last hurrah.
Kev, before we get into the fights, we got to talk about the arch and everything. Like, I'm sure you have been like listening nonstop to podcasts this week and like just researching everything. But this system that was brought over from Belgium over to Philadelphia ports, shipped down via trucks, and that they've been putting together. Politics aside, everyone, I want to make that a blanket statement for this episode. Politics aside, it is a beautiful structure that they have out there in front of the White House. And I am just so excited hearing about all the planning that has been going into this. They are doing it rain or shine. And Dana White has planned to even move it up or move it back based on what the weather's going to look like. They might be fighting with a bunch of locusts and wasps and mosquitoes biting at them, but that'll just fuel the game and that'll just fuel these fights. God bless it. Okay.
We might have some more biblical plagues. We might have the locusts. We'll have the floods.
Yep.
I actually think Karan's favorite fighter, Bryce Mitchell, said it best. He said, maybe it's not the best idea to be spending millions of dollars of taxpayer money on this, but regardless, it is great for the UFC. And that's as close into politics as we'll get on it. It's a great moment for the UFC.
It's a great moment for the sport of MMA in total. And I was also thinking about this. The World Cup is going on right now. Us Americans aren't necessarily deep involved in the world of soccer. However, there is one sport that is universal to every man on earth, and that's fighting.
Hand-to-hand combat. Yep, that is the genesis of all sports. That is, if you boil down sports to its most raw form, it is just two people trying to impose their will on each other. And
exactly.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, rain or shine is looking like it might be rain. We got PM thunderstorms on the docket. So I really don't know how that'll look. Part of me almost wants it to happen just because it'll add a little chaos to the event. If you look at the arch, it seems like unless we get that crazy horizontal rain, it seems like the octagon will be dry, but yeah, kind of surprising. We've been in crazy drought. I think it's voluntary water shortage right now in Northern Virginia. So you're encouraged to use less water, but I did put down a bunch of grass seed 2 weeks ago. So I've unfortunately been running sprinklers a lot. So that's on me.
It's all those data centers, of course, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And
we really are on
I went into Sterling the other day, dude. Those data, it is it's dystopian, the data centers there. You get to a certain part in Sterling, and then it's just a wall of data centers for about whatever. We got some fights to break down.
Yeah, let's talk about fights. I mean, this is an awesome card. I think there's a lot of things that are going on with each of these matchups. There's definitely storylines. One of the biggest is the guy that I'm dressed up as right now, Hokit, who has just been acting like an overall clown. Wait a minute. Why is Hokit's fight not on that graphic?
Because this graphic came out when the card was first announced. That's why I added in at the bottom there.
And then so we're missing... It's just got Hokit and Derrick Lewis, which is a wildly entertaining matchup just on paper. But then, you also got like kind of the heel matchup of Cyril Gane versus Pereira. I think that's the story of that one is going to be cool to talk about. Ilia, Topuria, and Gaethje. they've been doing the circuit, man. Even McAfee got a bite of that. I don't know if you saw Topuria kind of big dogged Gaethje right on national TV. It was cool to watch. And even on the smaller cards, what we're going to get into, Ruffy versus Chandler, there's a big storyline with that one. Nickal, who is buddies with Trump against Daukaus, there's one going on there. And then Lopes versus Garcia. That's a good, wait, I'm jumping the gun and I'm monologuing. Do you have anything before we get into the fights?
I want to say when I'm doing my research for this, I'm making my picks. My advice would be not to gamble on this one. I think this is there's I guess except for two matchups, all of them have a heavy favorite.
Big time.
So,
yes,
you're risking losing money if you bet on the underdog, and then if you bet on the favorite, you're not really getting much. Then there's the added element of rain. There's just the stage that this is on. We have some fighters here, and this is going to be what I'm going to talk about when we get into the first fight. Some fighters have been in the limelight. Others have mainly been fighting on fight night cards, either at the Apex in Vegas or non-pay-per-view events. So there's so many factors going into this that I do think we are going to see some upsets, but I also think we're going to see some people who lose money gambling. So if I could have,
I'm gonna probably be one of them, but it's fine.
Yeah. Fortunately, I'm down to $3.50 in my DraftKings balance. I was at $1 2 weeks ago, so I've been trending upwards, but I don't have that much money to lose.
Stonks.
Let's go ahead and
Let's get into it, man.
to the first fight.
I'm excited for this one, Kev. I don't know about you. I really am. Do you mind if I give a few points?
Go for it.
Yeah, here we go. We got starting off Garcia, the Southpaw boxer underdog who had 4 KO wins in a row going up against Mr. Diego Lopes, the former wrestler guy who is a dual threat in my opinion. I like this fight because this is two dudes who, despite having a long resume and, having kind of being a little bit more up there in age, they are newer-ish to the UFC field.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but despite that, we got to talk about how Mr. Lopes here definitely got a big chip on his shoulder. He's gone up for the belt twice against Volkanovski. Fortunately, didn't meet it. Kev, did you hear who he wants to go after if he wins this one?
No, but I heard he wanted to move up to 155.
Yeah, and he wants to challenge Oliveira.
Oh, okay. Yes. Some Brazil on Brazil
That's some
action.
background on that. Do you want to hit on their actual fighting style?
Yeah, and so as I alluded to, the Diego Lopes, he jumped onto the scene, I think it was 3 years ago when he took a fight on short notice against Movsar Evloev. He lost that fight, but it was very competitive. And ever since then, he's just been a firecracker, just climbing the rankings. He's had the 2 title fights. He has fought on UFC 300, that historic card back in April 2024. He fought at the UFC Sphere event, and now he's fighting UFC White House. No other fighters are going to be able to have that on their resume at the end of their career. And so, yeah, if the lights were ever too bright, Diego would not be affected by it. Steve Garcia, on the other hand, I think he's only been on 1 pay-per-view, if I'm remembering correctly. He has been on a lot of UFC Apex cards. So there is that kind of added element of, is the stage going to be too big?
Right. And he only just got his main card victory.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's something to your point. We got a guy who's, been shooting at the stars, a guy who, despite having a little bit of seasonality over the other guy, is new to the main stage. The one thing that I will say, Kev, I'm still novice level, but I went back and watched the John Silva fight for Mr. Lopes. My God, Diego is dual capability, or not dual capability. When he gets a dude down on the ground, it's beautiful to watch, dude. He will just make a dude damn near black out when he is on the ground, and it is beautiful to watch.
His ability to control someone on the ground while delivering damage is really impressive. You have some people who they get a guy down and they're just hunting for a submission, or they're just happy to have him down and trying to control him there. Diego Lopes, he's throwing the elbows. He cut up Gene Silva bad in that first round, but then Then round 2 comes around, and Gene starts piecing him up. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was a 4th round TKO for Diego. It was after the fight had thoroughly swung in John Silva's favor, but Diego hit him with that spinning back elbow because Silva got a little too confident.
I can't read with these glasses. Yeah.
And that's actually when I get into the breakdown of this fight, there's a couple things that stand out to me. So Steve Garcia, he's a counterpuncher. He's got that range. He's very comfortable letting the fight come to him. So I don't think Diego's going to have the opportunity where he's going to be able to catch him getting over aggressive and throw a spinning back elbow, or even, I mean, I don't see him getting a takedown on Steve Garcia. You know, Steve trains out of New Mexico, Jackson Wink, with Greg Jackson. That's a John Bones Jones coach. So
he fights that on. Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Yeah, he's got a great pedigree of coaches and fighters that he trains with. You know, he's sort of, I know he's 34, he's older than Diego, but he's had a slow build through the UFC. I think he's on a 7-fight win streak. We can only see those last 5. Then you have Diego, who's thinking of moving up to 155.
Right, go for that BMF title.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to give my pick away, but I am leaning Steve Garcia on this one.
That, you know, if there was one to take, that would be it. I will say this. The fight wait, am I getting it mixed up with? Yes, I am. I'm getting it mixed up with Daukaus for a second there. But this fight, I think it's in Steve Garcia's best interest to stay standing throughout this fight. Definitely the whole time. But even if that happens, here's my thing. I think Diego Lopes is versatile enough. Everybody expected him to just be, you know, a wrestler coming out the gate when he started out there. But he, like the guy we're going to talk about in the next fight, was able to surprise a lot of people by having also some striking capabilities. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think that taking away the ground capability is going to be that big of a negative for Diego Lopes. I like his power. I'm going to give away my pick. I'm taking Diego Lopes by knockout. I think that's what I told you. Hold on.
Yes, I believe so. And look, there has been in the back of my head this whole week, this whole month, ever since this card was announced, will there be some shady, funny business going on behind the scenes? Will the UFC, will the executive branch of the United States, it is in their best interest for some Americans to get dubs. Now, I'm just wondering.
But is this the card? Is this the fight where they would pull it?
Okay, we might cut this out of the video, fair warning. So I'm just gonna say it, and then we can decide in post if we want to keep it in. Look at these two fighters. Think about our current administration.
Oh no.
What I think I did pick Steve Garcia to win by KO TKO, but the more I don't know if I see either of these guys getting knocked out. You know, Steve Garcia's got a chin on him, and Diego Lopes as well. He was taking John Silva's best shots. So I think I might be going, man, because if it goes to decision, I think Diego's got it. I'm going to stick with my guns and say Steve Garcia. I think round 2 knockout maybe, but it'll be.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because there is also not the political influential factor, but just like the needing this event to work factor. And this is the first fight. We've alluded to it. Well, the last time we alluded to it was with the Netflix fight, and that was the biggest waste of time that anybody has ever watched. But with this, there is definitely a chance that it can go the distance. And I think that would be great for the event. You know what I'm saying? Start off with a bang, have a great fight. Right as the rain starts pouring in, you know, you got the mullet flowing in the wind and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're on opposite ends. Let me pull up. What was the tiebreaker? Okay. Karan, when he hops on, will maybe touch more on this, but he is on my side with a Diego Lopes knockout.
Yep. All right. On to the next fight. And Tyler, I'm going to have to get you. Hey, wait, I forgot. I did some research, and this is actually how this fight got announced. How this fight got chosen, because a lot of people were saying, who was banging on the door saying we need Bo Nickal and Kyle Daukaus on this card? And I did some digging, and actually, so Donald Trump and Nick Saban met, right? And
there's layers to this. Okay. Well,
anyway. You get the reference there?
No, yeah.
Sweet.
Come on. No, but there is another layer to this, Kev. I did some digging as well because I heard on one of the podcasts I was listening to, I believe it was the one that Poirier's on nowadays,
Oh, yeah, with
where they were
Masvidal.
talking about how Bo Nickal and Trump are actually boys. Yeah, Bo Nickal, during his time at Penn State Wrestling, he went to the White House in 2019 and met him, and I guess they've been like this
Yeah, I
ever
know
since.
they've golfed and whatnot, so yeah,
Yeah,
that,
a lot of people were saying they knew Bo Nickal was going to be on for that reason. I also have a nickname for this one. I'm calling it the Battle of the Slim Jims. I think I look two tall boys with insane reaches who just ain't that bulky. So
Can you go ahead and say Kyle's last name again? I caught you saying it earlier. Can you say that again?
I saw you smiling, and I was immediately thinking to myself, "Oh, I screwed that up." Doghouse.
Okay.
I would like
Daukaus.
doghouse, right?
Daukaus, yeah.
Doggus,
Anyway.
doghouse. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Okay. Okay. One thing I have. One fighter that everyone expected on the card was Bo Nickal. He, but I need you to explain something else for me, Kev.
Daukaus.
Daukaus, previously cut from the UFC back in 2022. What was the reasoning behind that? He just wasn't performing.
Yeah, I guess he had back-to-back losses,
Okay.
against Dolidze and Eric Anders, and yeah, I believe that fight with Jamie Pickett was his first fight in the UFC, so, he went 1 and 2, got cut, and then he went on the regional scene. I believe it was Cage Warriors where he won 4 in a row, all 4 finishes,
Yep.
and yeah, he got a second chance contract, and he's 2-0 since then.
Yep. And so one thing I will say, looking at the previous fights, looking at Kyle's previous, I'm not even going to attempt it anymore. Looking at Kyle's previous fight, I mean, I got nothing from that. It was against Gerald Mearshart. And, that one was over in, I think, like 2 minutes. It was pretty bad. But Bo Nickal, another one of those guys who, despite his wrestling background, not afraid to stand up. And
Mhm.
his wrestling background, I think that's going to come in handy here. And it came very much in handy in against, wow, I just said a lot of principles. It came very handy in his matchup against Rodolfo Vieira because he was able to escape those takedown attempts very easily. He was able to get away from him and all that. I think he's going to be doing the same thing with the guy who's a submission grappler and Mr. Kyle here. And the odds are very much on my side. I think that, Bo is a -355 favorite. This is another one of those where I wouldn't gamble it in real life, but just from what I'm seeing, everything about Bo, I'm taking him by submission.
I guess, did you watch Bo Nickal's fight with Renier de Ridder?
No, I did not.
Okay, so one thing that I'm sure a lot of fans have realized is how much Kyle Daukaus looks like RDR. From his body shape to his hair to his head, he looks like RDR, and
He's got that alien look. Yeah.
he has a similar fighting style as well. I mean, RDR is great with the submissions. Now, when we look at Bo's loss to Renier de Ridder, what happened was he tried to get takedowns in the first round, and due to Renier de Ridder's size, and the de Ridder, I think, was in his 40th pro fight at that point. His experience, he was able to thwart the takedown. I think Bo kind of not gassed himself out, but he really emptied the tank trying to get the takedown, and it didn't come. And then Renier de Ridder's got him with a couple knees, and then that ended up finishing him. So the reason I say that is I think that loss will ultimately be good for Bo. I mean, we saw how he came back from it with the head kick KO of Rodolfo, which was very impressive. But just in the grappling sense, I think I don't think he's going to make that same mistake where he empties the gas tank in the first round trying to prove that he can get a takedown. Trying to get that takedown because he feels lost if he can't. I think he's became a more mature fighter after that. Now, the one thing I do see is I wonder if he's even going to go for a takedown just because of the submission threat of Kyle Daukaus. In Bo's fight with Paul Craig, one sec. In Bo's fight with Paul Craig, he did not engage in wrestling whatsoever. He turned into a stand-up fight because Paul Craig is so good at submitting wrestlers. So, yeah, what were you going to say?
No, I was just saying yes, I agree with you on
Sweet,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No, so what was your pick? Did you already make it?
I have not, but I can start. Well, I'm going with Bo Nickal.
Yeah, I think
And
we're
I
all
think I
across the
have him
board in agreement
by
on that.
decision. I think Bo's like his typical best path to victory is to take somebody down, soften them up, and then get the choke. I don't think he's gonna be able to find a submission on Kyle Daukaus, and he's gonna even have to be careful when he goes in on those takedown entries. If he gets sloppy, Daukaus, I believe, has a couple Darce choke submissions on his record, maybe a guillotine, maybe not, but Bo can't just try to force a takedown because he might end up getting caught. I think he's going to outwork him on the feet in rounds 1 and 2. And then when the time's right, when Kyle's not really expecting it, I think Bo's going to get him down. He's going to do a takedown. Now, he's not much of a ground and pounder. So I think he's going to maybe win the first round striking, second round mix in a takedown, see if that works. If that does, I think round 2 and 3, he goes that route, just take him down, hold him there, maybe threaten some submissions, get a little ground and pound off. But I see it being a decision for Bo Nickal.
Yeah, and the graphic is going to show this, and I hate it because it's like the college game day thing where it's like when the graphics all the same across the board, and I'm not good. But you know what? The more I think about this one in real time, the more I think this is going to be like a battle of two guys who are going to like just be conservatively not trying to go for the takedown because they have that thought where they know the other guy is going to be able to like back off and like assume like the dominant position, like reverse almost the takedown attempt. So it could be a slow burn. So I hope that doesn't happen, but the way that we're talking here has me thinking that's what it's going to be. But just based on pedigree and based on experience, I'm sticking with Bo Nickal via decision.
Yeah, and I think Bo Nickal has an opportunity to make a big jump in just showing people the evolution of his game, because he was a collegiate wrestler. He's 30 right now. I think he's maybe 6 years into training MMA, and he had that head kick KO last year. He has a KO of Val Woodburn. Granted, that was a fight on short notice, but what I'm getting at is if his striking continues to evolve like at this trajectory, once he hits his prime, like 34, 35, he could be a real force in this division. But
man, I tell you what, Kev, between Mr. Bo Nickal and the fact that Diego Lopes is training at Oklahoma State, we're inching closer and closer towards there being a direct pipeline between collegiate wrestling and the UFC. We're inching towards there. I mean, as we've seen this week, the UFC or NCAA is willing to do whatever for money, so it's probably going to happen. But yeah, sticking with Bo Nickal, across the board graphic, we're all probably going to lose money on this. And the man himself is joining us. And let me tell you something about dedication. Let me tell you something about hard work. And this man just drove through a thunderstorm. He just drove through giant traffic all across the state of Virginia, and he is joining us past 11 o'clock at night on a work night. Karan, how we doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Happy to be here. I'm excited for this card. I can't believe it's coming up. It's coming to fruition, and I appreciate you guys having me on. Just so excited to talk about these fights.
I heard you went down to Roanoke to get as far away from the UFC as possible. Is that true?
Dude, couldn't be further from the truth. I'm coming back Sunday, which I believe is not only the day of the fight card, but I think that's Trump's 80th birthday. Am I right?
Wait.
The big 8.
Wait. For Donnie.
Did we just not know this whole time that Trump planned this for his birthday party?
Believe me, people have been talking about that.
Okay.
I think that's been probably one of the most fair criticisms about this. Tyler's gone.
Wow. Okay. That's beautiful. Okay, but Karan, we already talked about the first fight of the night that me and Kev are both pretty excited about, in Garcia and Lopes. I mentioned your pick about Mr. Lopes. Do you have any overarching thoughts you want to go over on that one?
Not much, man. I think Diego Lopes, if he fights anyone that's not Alexander Volkanovski, he just kind of sparks them. I think like he's just going to get the finish in the first couple rounds. The guy just throws caution to the wind. He's got heavy hands. He's got great jiu-jitsu. So I really don't have much to say. I think he's going to get it done. I think he's going to get the finish.
Get it done. I love it. And then what about the fight that I am dubbing the Battle of the Slim Jims in Bo Nickal versus Kyle Daukaus?
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like Bo Nickal, he's really improved and he's just got such fantastic wrestling. I feel like he's just going to either win by decision or submission. I can't remember my pick. I don't know if I said decision or not, but he almost certainly wins that fight. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I have him going submission. Decision. I don't think he's going to be able to submit Daukaus, and he's not a prolific ground and pounder, but I think first round he outstrikes him. Second round gets him comfortable, takes him down. If he can hold him there, I think he does the same in round 3, and it's a pretty easy 30-27 for in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Humble. We're nothing if not humble on the show. All right. Now let's talk about the third bout of the night. And this is one that I'm going to be just dubbing the old man with a chip on his shoulder trying to stay relevant. I don't know how else to say it. Now, you two are both much bigger fans than I am, or have just been fans for longer than I have. I
think both those are true, yeah.
Put your face in front over this. Yeah, so how big of a storyline is it, the snub of Chandler versus McGregor not happening?
It's unfortunate for Mike. I think he's such a company man for the UFC. That's part of the reason why they're giving him this fight. Just because he has been such a good sport about that whole thing. But you can look at the fight dates on there. He didn't fight for 2 years because he was waiting for that payday. And it's McGregor's a tough person to do business with, especially this new version of McGregor. So he definitely has a chip on his shoulder. Will has the time passed him. We can get into that when we get to our picks. But yeah, it was a pretty big snub. And now, of course, McGregor's booked against Holloway. So, the world moves on.
The world does move on. Karan, what do you think about that?
I think Kevin summed it up best. See you at the top, Kev. You know how it is with Michael Chandler. The guy, if anything, always has an exciting fight and terrible fight IQ, but you really can't count him out.
Right.
I mean, I will say to your point, Tyler, I mean, Ruffy is 29 years young and Chandler is 40. And yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really tough for Chandler because Ruffy is very, very quick. He's got great footwork. He is extremely technical. I think he can find Chandler's chin pretty easily. But again, you just can't count out Iron Mike. I mean, the guy is explosive and he can knock him out. So we'll see how things go.
I mean, you said it best right there when you said it, explosive. I think that his best bet on winning this is going to have to be using his just major striking ability right out the gate coming out. He's going to have to almost shock Mauricio Ruffy, because Ruffy is one of those guys who he does have weakness when it comes to defensive wrestling. That's one thing that I did notice. Mm-hmm. So, Mike having a little bit of wrestling to kind of tag on with this brawler mentality, I think in his prime would make him this would definitely be a lot closer than a plus 500 dog for Mike Chandler. But right now, age being what it is, I think Kev summed it up. This is kind of like a bone being thrown to Chandler almost, and nobody is thinking that Chandler's going to get it done. I'm going to just keep going with my monologue and give away my pick. I like the storyline and the vibe and the value too much on Chandler. Okay. I think, is there a chance this is his last fight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say winner.
Hell of a way to end the career. Look, Yuffie?
Hoofy.
Okay. I'm going to say it wrong.
Before we start recording, I told you.
Well, and I didn't listen, obviously.
It's tough to pronounce. Yeah.
It is. Thank you. That's why. Thank you. Yes, Karan. But look, is the up-and-comer. He's been getting all these good fights under his belt. I think that, that last one that he had against Fiziev in that TKO round 2, that was an awesome spectacle to see. It shows that he also has power, but he's a good leg fighter, like you said, Karan. That's where he just wears his guys down and is able to get into them quick to get those knockout opportunities. I mean, the man does have 12 knockouts of his wins, of all the 13 wins he has. So he's a knockout artist. Going back to Mike is going to have to get him on the ground early. That's the only method of victory for this guy, because then he'll be able to also conserve stamina a little bit. He's not going to win a stamina battle against a guy 11 years his junior. Going to listen to the gambler in my brain, not the logical part of my brain, and take Michael Chandler on the vibe of having a chip on his shoulder to end his career. The company man gets a good win, and he goes off into the sunset.
Wow. Okay. I
like it.
The one thing about, UFC throwing him a bone, if they were truly going to throw him a bone, they would have given him Moicano, even like Gamrot, maybe Fiziev. but giving him Hoofy is a little. It's a bittersweet pill to
I
gets to be on the
did
White House
say
card. But
I did listen to a couple of in that Poirier podcast where they were like talking about how this is just a bad fight to give the company, man. So
yeah, but to your point, if he's able to take him down, one, there's a threat of submission, which I'm going to get to in a second. But two, that being the game plan, you're exactly right, because the best way to deal with a like explosive and technical striker is to get him down and wear them out that way. You know, Michael Chandler won't be emptying the gas tank if he's on top and he's pushing submissions. It'll be Hoofy who's getting tired, you know, getting frustrated. That's going to be his path to victory. I will also say, you know, Mauricio's one loss in the UFC, that submission loss to BSD last year. Michael Chandler has 6 submission wins in his career. He's got those he's got those short little T-Rex arms where he can really generate some squeeze if he gets you in a guillotine, or if he gets you rear naked choke. Maybe he's able to fish one of those arms out, and then he just becomes kind of like just a jack to twerk, or to not twerk, to torque the joints.
He could twerk too, man. Iron Mike,
Iron
Mike, man.
Idea. Yeah.
With that said, that is not how I see this fight going. With that said, I see Hoofy being able to keep him at range. He is that, and there was part of me that was like, man, maybe I'm going to pick Mike for the upset. But then I'm reminded that Hoofy has been training with Volkanovski. He was training with him before the Fazia fight, and he's trained. He's going to have Volk in his corner for this fight. That with the age difference on top, I see him being able to keep the range. You know, landing some jabs, winning that first round on striking. Then second round, Mike's going to come out with some urgency. He might get a little sloppy going for a takedown, or just trying to engage in a brawl. And I think that's when he stings him.
Yeah. I didn't know about Volk. Damn it. All right, Karan, what you got?
Not much to say, honestly. I think that picking this upset it's not a bad pick at all. To your point, I do think, Tyler, you're spot on, both you and Kevin. Michael Chandler, if he wants to win this fight, he needs to come out aggressive. And honestly, he could get clipped and KO'd in the first 2 to 3 minutes. But on the flip side, if he's able to take Hoofy down and control him, he also could win, right? I mean, Hoofy's really good at being the hammer. He's not very good at being the nail. And so, Michael Chandler, too. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That guy possesses some insane power. So he needs to come out. He needs to go swinging. And if he doesn't, and he's on the back foot, he's going to get picked apart.
I love how every time you talk, you just gas up me and Kev, just further speculating that you're purely on here as like a therapy device for the two of us.
Hold on, though. I will say, before we move on, one thing I want to disagree with Kevin, actually, is he mentioned that if you really wanted to throw Michael Chandler a bone, you throw him Rafael Fiziev. Honestly, I'm still very high on Fiziev. I know he's lost his last few fights. The guy is just an insane striker. I think he's one of the best in the UFC. His problem is that his gas tank runs out in like the second round. But if he's able to work on his cardio, that guy really could be a world champion. I think, honestly, if he were to fight Michael Chandler, I think he'd KO him.
Yeah, Kevin, you idiot.
I think Fiziev should move down to 145.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, he's huge, though. He's huge.
All right.
Hold on.
We get that later.
I didn't expect to get double teamed here, but whatever.
I'm getting ready for the next fight.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of Michael Chandler and his kids, let's get to the maniac.
I'm coming for you.
There he is.
All right, I'm done. Okay.
Josh Hokit, he's 28?
I know.
I have that in my notes. Too. I did not know he was 28.
That is a 45-year-old man in a 28-year-old body.
He looks like shit. Yeah. But he's good. I mean, clearly he's winning.
No, look, I don't know what to think about all the Josh Hokit antics because it's clearly getting clicks. You know what I mean? It's clearly generating some buzz. Karan, I know Kevin watched the press conference earlier. Did you get a chance to see? You did. Okay.
I watched 1 minute and I just could not take any more. That was it. I couldn't get past it.
You watched? Okay, so that was the solo press conference he did, but the joint press conference that happened today?
Oh, I missed it.
No, he just went off challenging Pereira and just calling him a midget the whole time and all that, like screaming at him, and Pereira's like, go away, like stop, like
yeah.
But the guy's a good fighter, you know what I mean? Until he loses, I can't say anything. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. And they're having him fight Derrick Lewis the 40-year-old dude who's going to come out there and try to grab him, like or maybe get a knockout artist, admittedly, as we all know across his career, the guy with the most knockouts on this card, but he's also 40 and his gas tank is literally on E his entire life. Like, it's just, it's a mismatch in my opinion. And I really don't understand, like, well, Derrick Lewis being invited to this was just a fold, because Trump wanted him to be there. You know
yeah,
I mean?
he's Donald Trump's favorite fighter.
Right. But I have a feeling it was like he was Donald Trump's favorite fighter when he was like 34 and he was still in his like prime. And like apparently his wife had to answer the phone from Dana White because he was in the shower, and he goes in the interview, "Yeah, I was butt ass naked, came out the shower. Trump wanted me to fight." And it's probably not going to happen, but the idea of him somehow getting a knockout against Hokit and then taking his pants off on the White House lawn just
could happen. Yeah.
I
Crazier
mean,
things have
I've
happened.
heard that rain coming in, it might help keep his balls cool. So that'd be big. That'd be big for the program.
Just looking Trump right in the eye. My balls are itching, man.
Tremendous.
Not now.
Listen.
This fight is it is interesting to me just because of the size difference. I mean,
Right.
Lewis, all right, Hokit was he took some of Curtis Blades' best shots. Curtis Blades doesn't have the power that Derrick Lewis has. It's one of those where if in the first or second round he's able to catch Josh Hokit on the chin, that's I mean, the power's the last thing to go. And even in this last fight against Waldo or Cortez Acosta, he was looking decent in the first round. I mean, I think he might have even won the first round, and then he got hit with something and just kind of fell down and quit. I mean, people were thinking it was rigged. It was that weird of a knockout. He's a very frustrating fighter to be a fan of because he will deliver some of the best knockouts, and then in other fights, it's just like he woke up wrong and he didn't have the dog in him to finish it. That's what concerns me about this one, especially with somebody like Hokit who puts the pace on his opponents.
Yes.
I think it's going to be, there's two routes that Josh could go. He could either stay at range a little bit, let Derrick Lewis tire himself out in the first round. That's certainly a way of, a way to open up a second round finish. Or he could go right at him and try to frustrate him, try to get him. Because when you're throwing punches and missing, that drains the gas tank too. So if he's able to be elusive, get in and out, he could tire out Derrick Lewis that way. But it's a dangerous game. I mean, it's not something I would want to do to play that. Like that's a risky card to bet on, a risky hand to have to play with. Karan, I'm gonna let you go, then I'll get into my pick.
Sounds good. I mean, you summed it up well. I will say I could actually see Josh Hokit in the first round trying to wrestle or like stall a little bit, to be honest, because like you mentioned, Derrick Lewis, despite not having the best cardio, he just has insane power, right? And so if Hokit approaches this fight the way he approached the Curtis Blades fight and just like rushes in and throws caution to the wind, like he clearly did not respect Curtis Blades' power, and that's why he was able to. And to be fair, like I can kind of see why, because he did take some big shots and he just kind of ate them and kept walking forward. If he does that to Derrick Lewis, he's going to sleep. So I think he might try to push him against the cage. He might try to tire him out, take him down, like you said, and then he might go for the TKO. I don't see this fight going 3 rounds. There's just no way. And so it's a coin flip, honestly. I think it's either Josh Hokit gets the TKO in the second round or Derrick Lewis gets the KO. And honestly, if you want to take the underdog, I feel like this is a good one to do it and a fun one. But like Derrick Lewis could wake up and just be like, nope, today's not the day.
Yeah, he's such a frustrating fighter sometimes.
Derrick Lewis is actually a better odds dog than Michael Chandler. I'm just now seeing.
I know.
Which is
it's heavyweight.
Crazy.
Well, actually, I have something to say about that real quick. If you do want to bet on Derrick Lewis, your best bet is to do that about 3 or 4 weeks before the fight starts, because this always happens. I'm not sure what the line opened at, but just as the fight gets closer, people in their head are like, man, remember my balls was hot. Remember that knockout over Volkov? Like as the fight gets closer, they start putting money down on Derrick Lewis, and the line gets closer. So that is one thing I've noticed. Just in the build-ups to his fights, people kind of convince themselves he's going to get it done.
Do we Okay, let me ask you this, fellas. This just entered my mind. Do we think Josh Hokit is above playing with his food with a very tired out Derrick Lewis and just making a spectacle show out there?
That's a very good question. If he, yeah,
I don't think he's above that, man.
No, and he's a showman too. That Curtis Blades fight, you know,
He's
that it
gonna like
wasn't
see Derrick
tactical for
Lewis
him
like
to be.
panting for dear life, and he's gonna be like going like
Yeah.
dancing around them or something. Like
He's definitely He's definitely gonna flick him off. There's no doubt about it.
And I actually, there was a debate about this. Are they going to allow that?
Yeah,
I don't see why not.
yeah, they're going to be able to punch
I
each
don't know
other.
what like
Yeah.
the rules of conduct would be in a situation like this. That's what I'm saying. Like they're non-existent.
Bro,
Yeah,
some of these,
that does. I mean, maybe since it's the what I think kind of decorum's going out the window. They're not,
All right.
you know.
but it's a valid question, Tyler. I see where you're coming from, but if you've heard some of this stuff, and you probably have heard some of the stuff these fighters, that's it's good.
The Curtis Blades fight, one of the most impressive things was that Josh Hokit in his post-fight speech nailed it. He wasn't stuttering like Colby does. He nailed it. Everything. And he was doing an interview and he talked about it. He's like, I was exhausted. I just gotten punched in the face 100 times. The first thing I thought was, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to deliver these lines, but he did. And yeah, I hope we get to see some of that at the press conference on Friday. I hope he's got some nice little one-liners. As a fan, I am so flattered when a fighter is willing to not embarrass himself because he's doing it on purpose. You know, he purposely has this cringy persona, but just to put it all on the line and like the risk is he gets KO'd and ends up on one of those, you know, when trash talking goes wrong compilations. So he knows what's at stake and he's still doing it for my entertainment. I really love it.
I equate it to my personal experience where when I'm deep in the thralls of the NFL season as an Eagles fan, and I know when I'm watching these games that everybody's just waiting for the Eagles to lose because of how I act. So I get it. What else did I have? Watching the whole podium press conference earlier, I really encourage you guys to go back and watch it because when Hokit was yelling at Pereira, and they were going back and forth. In between them was O'Malley just looking like a leprechaun and just like sitting there like just motionless. It was the funniest thing, man.
Yeah, that press conference, O'Malley didn't get asked a single question.
No.
That was that press conference happened, I think, a couple months ago, and it was very weird.
Wait, I might be thinking of a different one then, but okay, but whatever. Okay, picks, Hokit, knockout. For me.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with what you were saying, Karan. I see this being a decision win for Hokit.
Really?
I mean, Derrick Lewis famously has this like anti jiu-jitsu, just stand up mentality. He's hard to hold down. So for that reason, I think Hokit will try to wrestle him. But once he gets him down, it's going to be more so control based. He's not going to be looking for a sub. You know, I don't think he has the power to like deliver meaningful ground and pound, like to get a finish with his frame over Derrick Lewis. He'd have to get right to it right away, picking apart, chipping away, and hope Derrick Lewis quits. But this is the White House card. This is almost like Derrick Lewis's magnum opus here. And another thing, it's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. Derrick Lewis is from Houston.
That's true.
He's kind of built for it. I see a decision, and you'll get some decent money if you go that route.
Yes.
Fair enough. I'm going to stick with Hokit just because I'm going with momentum, honestly. And Derrick is 41 and has never really been in the best shape. But again, I don't think this is a bad one to take the underdog. I mean, Derrick Lewis has been famous for getting several knockouts when he's been losing every single round. So he can mount a comeback. I see Hokit winning. To your point earlier, Kevin, like it would be hilarious if he got just like absolutely flatlined. Like I think it'd be hilarious. But on the flip side, if he wins in spectacular fashion and gives another speech, you better bet I want to hear it. So I don't really care where it goes. I just want this to be an exciting fight and for there to be an exciting, post-fight interview.
Yes. If there's one fighter who would comment on the Epstein thing, it is Josh Hokit. He made a Pizzagate joke a few months ago.
He might look Trump right in the eye and like point at him and make a joke about it. Like I know.
Yeah, be like I hit Derrick Lewis with my mighty fist. Donald Trump, why won't you release the Epstein list? And then he just gets sniped in the head.
Are you Josh Hokit's ghostwriter by chance? That sounds like something
That'd
you'd
be
say.
great.
I'm excited for this one. This is one where, kind of regardless of who wins, I'm going to be excited for it. And it's impressive being only 28, new to the game. The fight against Curtis Blades was different from all his other fights. So he has the ability to adapt his game plan based on his opponent, and that's very impressive for such a green fighter.
I felt so privileged as a new fan to get that fight as one of my first UFC cards.
What a fight
that was. Chef's kiss. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
all right. I think we're good on this. Yeah, on the next one.
You featured bout.
Sure. I don't have that much on this one, guys. I'm not going to be honest with you, because as much as I know Sean O'Malley is definitely a public persona, I'm not that in tune with his career. I do know this from what I've looked back at. It seems like this is definitely a last chance for him to, sort of, it's not last chance, but it's do or die based on the hiatus that he took and based on the fact that, he had that back-to-back loss against Davalishvili.
Dude, you actually nailed that.
Did I? Let's go. Yeah. And I mean, there's nobody on his record looking back that the casuals can really point to and be yeah, that's a good win under O'Malley's belt. A lot of people like myself just see this wacky persona who likes to dress up and paint his fingernails and all that fun stuff. You know what I mean? That being said, I learned
just to be clear, there was never no nail painting.
He looks like
he just looks like Ronald McDonald.
For assuming a dude who looks like that is painting his nails, but no. So I also found out that he has adopted some unique training methods for this fight. He has been an anti-gooner for a little bit of time. So yeah, that's and then I guess that wasn't working for him, so now he's doing it in moderation, and that is public knowledge for everybody to be talking about prior to this fight. I love the world that we live in. I'm not going to bore you guys. You're both going to be able to talk about this more in depth. I'm going to go with Mr. O'Malley by knockout in the third round, just because, he's got the youth over Zahabi. He's got a better reach by a long shot. He's got a better record, and he's got that chip on his shoulder. He needs this win, and he needs it to be a statement win.
Yeah. No, you are very correct that this needs to be not just a win, but I do think he needs to get a knockout because, yes, he has 2 losses to Merab, but right now Merab's not the champion. Petr Yan is the champion, and Sean O'Malley and Petr Yan have some unfinished beef. So I really see if he goes out, gets a highlight reel knockout like he had when he was coming up the ranks. And to your point, Tyler, he doesn't have a lot of big names on his resume because the UFC was cradling him in a sense. They were being strategic with the matchups they gave. So he wasn't getting thrown against any killers because, he was on the first season of Dana White's Contender Series. He was that sort of homegrown UFC star that they've invested a lot of money in. So they give him favorable matchups. And it even when he won the belt off Aljo, I think Aljo had fought 2 months prior against Henry Cejudo. So his rise was definitely kind of handpicked by the UFC. Now he did have a drug testing failure for Turinabol, which now I believe does not. If it happened today, he wouldn't have gotten dinged for it. But it was kind of it's hard to get drug testing right, and so I still think he was a clean athlete during that time. Anyway, that sort of derailed the hype train. But when he was rising through the ranks, he was just leaving a trail of bodies behind with spectacular highlight reel KOs. And he needs to get back to that in this fight if he's going to, potentially be gifted another title shot with Petr Yan. Here's how he will do it. Okay. Zahabi is a very, very smart fighter. He's going to, the fact that he knows Sean O'Malley is coming for that KO means he's going to be ready for it. He's going to be staying at range. He's going to be cautious. He's going to be ready for a counter strike. What O'Malley, I think, needs to do, I think he needs to put in some, not distracting work, but I think he needs to be throwing the teep kicks, throwing the calf kicks. I think he needs to be doing just jabs, kind of lulling Zahabi into a sense of, all right, he's not about to try to do some spinning wheel kick on me. And then he needs to do a spinning wheel kick. I got Sean O'Malley by a spinning. Yes. No, actually, give me question mark kick KO in the second round.
Dude, that would be have there been any question mark kick KOs in the UFC history?
I don't think so, dude. It's such a cool strike, but I don't think it really generates much power.
Tyler, look up what a question mark kick is. Okay,
if you want to, Tyler, on that note, two people that have great question mark kicks, Luke Rockhold and Israel Adesanya. Those are two to look up. But Kevin, I like that pick. I do think that if Sean wants to even be in contention for a title shot, he does need to get a KO, and it needs to be spectacular. I don't know how tough Zahabi is, but I do remember watching a clip where Jose Aldo was like, I think he literally like soccer kicked him in the head and he was still up. And Jose Aldo has some of the most insane power from 135 to 145 pounds. So he's clearly pretty tough. I will say these long, rangy guys with good striking, it doesn't really matter how tough people are. They can just find your chin and put you out cold. And I think Sean O'Malley is an example of that. Alex Pereira is an example. Carlos Prates, who's like one of my favorite fighters right now, is a great example too. So I think that O'Malley can get the KO. I do think he's going to win this fight. Personally, I feel like he's going to just pick Zahabi apart, and it's going to end with Sean winning a decision. But honestly, if he does get a KO, I'm not going to be upset. I don't want him to get the next title shot for bantamweight. I think Merab deserves a rematch, but I would like to see if Sean, is still one of those top guys. I do want to see him get the win. We'll find out Sunday night, baby. We'll find out
Sunday night. We're gonna find out. I do want to see Sean and Piotr Jan run it back. I think that first fight, some people would say it was a robbery. And speaking of robberies, and speaking of that Jose Aldo Jr. Amin Zahabi. I don't know how to say his first name. Actually, I'm realizing now. Amin Zahabi. But anyway. That fight against Jose Aldo was such a robbery. They did Jose Aldo Jr. so dirty in that fight. Only 2 out of 20 media outlets scored it for Zahabi. That round that you're talking about, I believe 2 of the judges gave it to him. If not that, actually, no, never mind. That was the third round. I'm pretty sure everyone gave him the third round. But yeah, that was, I think, a pretty clear robbery. And that there's a lot of bias coming from me in this pick because I do like Sean. I listen to his podcast every now and then. He was on Theo Von podcast back like 8 years ago. So but I don't like Zahabi, and I do wonder if I'm clouding my judgment. And I do wonder if that's why the line is the plus 330 is kind of crazy because he's on a 7-fight win streak. He beat Jose Aldo, not really, but he still hung in there with him. And his actually talking about training pedigree, I got it right here. Yeah, he's Faraz Zahabi's younger brother. That's the guy who runs the TriStar MMA gym out of Canada. Has some great fighters there. So there's a chance
George St. Pierre, right?
Getting my judgment clouded. I think if you hooked me up to a lie detector test and I had to say which underdog has the best chance of getting it done, I'm not hooked up to a lie detector test, so I'm not going to say it. But
right,
yeah. Tyler, have you made your pick yet? Oh, yeah, you started with your pick.
Yeah, I started with it. I don't know that much to say about this one. Yeah, no, O'Malley, knockout. I do want to see, I have yet to see a leg knockout in my, so I need to see it.
Right. Well, no, I'm not going to put it out there. I was going to say maybe a leg break knockout could be that.
No.
In the back of my head, I've been, because this is a fight card that I'm just so excited for. Like, it seems like it can't not deliver, but man, there is a chance that Diego Lopes and Steve Garcia, they're both hesitant. They don't really get into it. It goes to decision. Chance that Bo Nickal just kind of has a boring wrestle hug fest, gets the win. Then we go on to, what's the next one? Say Derrick Lewis, Jock Hook just isn't that good of a fight. Then we get to this one. Zahabi ends up keeping Sean O'Malley at range. When there is a chance that this card doesn't deliver, and I'm not going to entertain it. I'm gonna edit that part out. Let's get to the next fight.
What's wrong with you?
All right. All right, here we go.
Good.
This is history, going for history. The first ever fighter to hold 3 belts in 3 different weight classes could be Alex Pereira, but he has an opponent across the octagon from him who is a problem, not just for himself, not just for the UFC, not just for the fans, but for Alex Pereira's attempt at glory here. And I'm going to, there we go. All right. I made that graphic just for fun.
That was beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, he's not fighting Edward Scissorhands. He's fighting Cyril Gane. We're talking gifting title shots, Karan, you'd be mad if Sean O'Malley got a title shot off of a win. Man, we have some of the kings of title shot gifts. We got Diego Lopes opening the card, and now we have Cyril Gane. What did he do to earn this?
Nothing.
Poke Tom in the eyeball. What did he do to earn that fight?
Ran away from Derrick Lewis. Yeah.
What did he do to earn the fight against Tom? He won a split decision robbery against Volkov. And what did he do before that? He got a fight against John Jones after he punched Tai Tuivasa in the back of the head a bunch. And then
he was getting it from the crowd at the press conference.
Yeah.
He's the biggest cheater in the sport right now.
This is definitely the fight where I think everyone's pulling for one side. We'll see if Gane
and I'm
can
not
play
changing that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm doing a gambling pick here, man. They have a guy get 3 belts in 3 different weight classes. Come on, you can't not root for that. A guy who's an eye poker, who's also, I saw him in a fight against Derrick Lewis where he was literally running away from him in the octagon and stuff like that. And we do have a couple of hunks, so there's no point to be really made about that one. I'm not going to overthink this one, boys. I'm going to be going with Mr. Pereira. And I hope that after this, because he is now in the heavyweight contention, that we will get a Cyril Gane versus Josh Hokit fight. Or no. The Pereira versus Hokit fight.
Could happen.
That could be, depending on how Tom's eye heals.
I did. Yeah, that was another one. One other point I wanted to ask you guys. Are we ever going to get a Paddy Pimblett versus Topuria fight?
I hope not. It's not even worth it.
We would have if he had beaten Justin Gaethje back in January. That's why Justin Gaethje's on this card. They were fighting for the. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but no, probably not.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought that would be fun to watch. Okay, but no, I'm taking Mr. Pereira. I think it's going to be a knockout victory just because of his heavy background in kickboxing and boxing. I think he's going to fare well against a guy with that jiu-jitsu style who likes to fight on the ground. Not on the ground. No, I know. Shut up, Kevin. I know I was wrong. Yeah, Cyril Gane's going to try to outmaneuver him, I think, in the beginning, just looking at his style. He's going to try to be overly strategic, but Pereira is going to be able to keep his cool. He's going to stay focused. He's going to slowly advance on him and then, just knock out clean.
Okay. Karan, what are you thinking on this one?
I can't not go for I have to root for him because the guy is just special. He has been such a great addition to the sport, even though, I'm a huge Israel Adesanya fan. He's beaten him several times. The guy is just insane. He's probably one of the scariest human beings on planet Earth, in my opinion. And yes, Cyril Gane is a great striker. He has great movement and fight IQ. Obviously, like we discussed, he is notorious for cheating in the sport. But I just think Pereira, it doesn't matter how good you are on paper, what your record is, or who you fought before. He literally has the touch of death. And if he catches Cyril Gane with his left hook, he's going to sleep. So I will say I am curious to know Cyril's approach, because if he spends the first few minutes just kind of dancing around the octagon, avoiding the leg kicks, trying to keep a high guard, especially on. So I think it'd be his right side. That would be where Pereira's left hook would be. I think he can potentially take Pereira down. And Cyril Gane is a big heavyweight, very, very muscular. And he has a decent ground game, and it's certainly improved. On the flip side, Pereira is extremely strong and hard to hold down. So I really don't know, but I still am leaning Pereira. I think he's going to get the KO. And, he'd make history, obviously. So that's my pick. Mystic Kev, what you got?
Man, I got a banger of a pick for this one, but I'm going to kind of preface it by saying Cyril Gane's chin is very impressive. He took some of Tai Tuivasa's best shots. He was in there against Derrick Lewis, in the first and second round. He took some shots. He's a hard guy to affect with a punch, But what you got, what you're talking about with the leg kicks, Pierre is famous for throwing that leg kick with no tell. I think that's going to be big. I also think Joe Rogan, before Cyril Gane gets to the octagon, is going to talk about how we've never seen such an athletic heavyweight as Cyril Gane. The way he moves Well, now we will, because Alex Pereira is going to be able to match him in that movement speed and in the striking as well. You know, I do really like Alexander Volkov, but Cyril Gane had a striking battle with him and didn't do that. You know, didn't do that great. And if you can't really best Volkov on the feet, then I don't see how you think you're going to against Pereira. I do. So let me continue progressing into my prediction here. So
Okay.
one thing, I've been watching the UFC embeddeds this week, the ones that have been put out so far. There was one of Cyril Gane. He was shadow boxing, and just had some cool B-reel footage of him shadow boxing. It was literally with his fingers out while doing the shit. But then also the one that dropped yesterday. Speaking of spinning kicks, I guess Alex Pereira's girlfriend threw him a soccer ball, and he did a spinning wheel kick and scored a goal. Yeah, it wasn't a big goal. It was one of those like this big goals, like a kindergarten soccer goal. Anyway, you look at what I have highlighted there in yellow. Alex Pereira submission victory plus 2,000. He trains with Glover Teixeira. He's been training with Glover Teixeira. They're as thick as thieves. Glover Teixeira, tremendous jiu-jitsu. I saw in an interview that like an interview in their gym, he was talking about how much grappling he's been training and just how much he's kind of fallen in love with it, just the science behind it. And now, to Karan, you said he's at 255. He's strong. He's strong now.
Yeah.
You might get Cyril Gane testing the waters by trying to go for a takedown, because he does have the ability to maybe initiate that wrestling. But Cyril Gane's submission and BJJ IQ is in the toilet. I mean, he lost the fight against Francis Ngannou. It was 2-2 going into the 5th round. He was on top. All he had to do was stay there, and he would have been the heavyweight champion of the world. And what did he do? He pulled guard from on top and tried to go for a leg lock that wasn't even close. And then Francis thought about it for a second, sat up, and then got on top of him, ended the fight there, won the 5th round, won the belt. That's negative IQ in grappling. And man, if Pereira starts kind of hitting his chin and he's landing good shots, but he's realizing he doesn't have the power at heavyweight to put out another heavyweight, maybe he tries to pull out a little crafty bag of tricks and go for, I'm not saying like not a Darce choke, not
like
a rear naked, because I think it'd be hard to choke out somebody like Cyril Gane with that kind of neck. What about an arm bar? What if he gets in a weird 50-50, just like the Ngannou fight, and Cyril Gane goes for another leg lock, but he wins that 50-50 and he gets the leg lock?
Yeah, that's possible. I will say this too. I think everyone on this podcast right now knows that if you were in that position against Francis Ngannou, we all know which submission you'd go for, and we know you'd pull it off.
Yeah.
It'd be a big target, but I think I could get it done.
Kev, based on the speech you just gave, I want you to, in post, do some kind of detail where I slam a golden buzzer for that pick. I am switching to that. I think I'm actually going to gamble that. The gambling brain in my head loves that mindset, seeing that he has no submissions on his record, but he's been training for it, and I love that pick.
If I'm right about that, I'll be so happy. I
was doing the math in my head. That's the potential. It's a 30 extra investment with plus 2,000.
Carly will never hear the end of it if I get that one right. But what will happen is I'll put it in a parlay with 2 other stupid picks, so I'll end up losing it.
You're gonna lose it week 1 when you bet against Notre Dame on the spread. Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else to add on this one? This is the closest money line. We all pick Pereira, and so in the last slide when I'm showing our picks, I highlight when we pick an underdog, and it does help our flair, like just showing that we got some underdog picks, because right now he is the slightest of slightest underdogs.
It's insane. Insane.
Shall we get to another very close and, no real favorite in this one? The main event.
Changing of the guard on duty.
Oof.
That's all I can say, man. Gaethje's been getting big boyed on the media trail by Topuria. He really has. I don't know how much of it you've been watching. McAfee even chimed in during the episode that they both went on, and he just goes, "Justin, you got anything to say to that, man?" And he just was sitting there taking it. Look, I was doing some research. Justin, he's coming off of that big win versus Patty Wimblett. He is right now got the lightweight title. He's the interim champ, as we all know. The only way for him to kind of, I think, make this fight a little bit competitive is he's got to channel that, like, just chaotic factor he had when he was fighting against Poirier. You know what I mean? He's got to make it dirty. He's got to find some way to make Ilia not be the focused as shit fighter that he always is, as we see him with his stance just locked in all the time. And I don't know how Justin's going to do that, because most of the fights highlights that I've seen from him, he doesn't really bring the chaos factor, being that he's, got that background in just all wrestling and kickboxing. Not really like a power brawler kind of guy from what I've seen. And the record backs that up with him only having the one knockout up to his name. Yeah, I wish I could say that it was tougher for me to pick this based on what I'm seeing. But, I mean, do you guys have a better case to make for Gaethje?
Kevin?
I mean, I'll try. And he's got quite an uphill battle. Topuria, I know people, especially coming up now, not so much because he's carved out his own path, but they like to accuse him of being a knockoff McGregor. It seems like he's putting on a McGregor masterclass of getting under Justin's skin, gonna force him into rushing in and just cleaning his clock, doing exactly what he said recently. He's also, this is post-divorce Ilia. The deck couldn't be more stacked against Gaethje, but here we go. Here's what Gaethje will have to do. And the fact that it's 5 rounds makes it that much harder. Even in the Ilia fight with Max, it was 1-1 going into the 3rd round. In his fight against Volk took the 1st round off of him, but he just needs to connect once. And throughout the whole fight, he's sort of building traps, creating that dead space. So the second you make an incorrect read or you get overzealous on a throw, that's when he's gonna implement the 1-2-3 that he's been putting together, laying groundwork for. But how does Gaethje win this? He needs to go at those legs. He needs to kick the legs hard, kick the legs early. All right. He needs to clinch with Topuria, because as dangerous as Ilia is when you're about a foot away from him, that the level of danger goes down if you're touching him. If you're in the clinch with him, if you've got him up against the cage, you can wear on him. What Gaethje should kind of be aiming for, get this thing into the 3rd round, and then we can talk. Because I think in Ilia's mind, he's not doing this for show. He's not trying to get under Gaethje's skin. He thoroughly believes it's going to be a 1st round knockout. I think if Gaethje can get past the 1st and 2nd round, maybe Ilia starts second guessing himself. Maybe Gaethje takes a round off him. Maybe he clips him with something. Maybe he eats one of Topuria's shots and realizes it's not as bad as he thought. That's what, maybe a head kick, maybe what he did to Dustin Poirier. Ilia Topuria's shorter. Obviously, he actually got very sensitive about that. That was the one win that Gaethje had on this media trail, was called him out for being short, and Ilia just kind of short king went off on him. He clearly touched a button there. But that's what's going to have to happen. Like you said, Tyler, make it dirty, but being careful while you do it.
I want to correct myself also real quick. He only has 1 submission to his name, Mr. Gaethje. 20 knockouts, excuse me. Yeah, but to your point, the problem also comes in the fact that Ilia is good on the ground and standing up. You know what I mean? Like, he's still, we're back to just chaos and just going to have to do like some kind of flying kick and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, Charles had nothing for him on the ground. It's a tough one. It's tough. Going to be a tough one for America, I think.
That's the main card too. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the main event of the UFC 250th birthday of Trump's, I think, and yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
Karan, what do you got?
He took the kids, Justin. We'll start with that. Yeah, it's definitely an uphill battle, like you said, Kevin. I think you probably know how I feel about Ilia. I cannot stand him, but despite that, he is honestly one of the most entertaining fighters to watch right now. And the guy is a generational talent that I haven't seen in a while. Like, we have plenty of fantastic fighters in the UFC, but he's kind of like, the guy can submit you, he can knock you out. He has literally knocked out 3 of my favorite fighters in his last 3 bouts. That's why I don't like him.
What a resume, man.
Yeah, and he's very confident and very outspoken, and it drives me nuts, but he does it And, some people have made comments that, like, yes, he's fighting 3 legends, or he KO'd 3 legends kind of on their decline, which is definitely true, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he put all of them out cold. I mean, Max was he was definitely out in terms of, like, that fight was over, but Charles and Volkanovski were literally out cold. Like, the
Right.
Oliveira KO was probably one of the most brutal ones I've seen in a
Yeah,
while.
wait, isn't Oliveira still the title holder?
He's the
No.
BMF
Oh, he's
belt
not?
Holder.
Yeah, which is
Oh, okay.
silly. That fight sucked. Anyway, I think, Kevin, you made some good points that, Gaethje probably needs to clinch, like throw some uppercuts for sure. Gaethje's
He's got
uppercuts are some of the best in the
yeah.
sport, and definitely the leg kicks. I think, also Gaethje needs to he has a great jab that he just doesn't use much. And if he pops his jab out, I think he can, start to affect Ilia, maybe like cause a cut or like damage one of his eyes. That makes it a little bit easier for Gaethje. But if he rushes in like a madman, he's getting KO'd immediately. Ilia Topuria's right hand is just insane. And, you made another good point earlier, which is he has one punch knockout power, and he usually is one punch that puts his opponent out, but it's usually like the 4th or 5th shot. Like,
Yeah.
he goes in combos, and then people think they're safe at that point because, like, okay, he's unloaded 3 punches, I blocked it or I evaded it. And then, right hand or left hook just comes out of nowhere and it surprises them. And yeah, I mean, Justin Gaethje has an insane chin. I mean, he really does. He's very tough, but if he gets caught multiple times by Ilia clean, he's going to be put out. Now, here's the other thing. I saw several interviews where Ilia talks about how him and his team prepare for these fights, and it's just insane. They're just like, okay, we obviously focus on like what we need to do in our path to victory. Then we focus on what is our opponent's path to victory. And then we start our game plan around that. And he literally just said everything that we said in this conversation. He's like, we know Justin's going to try to like stay at range. He's going to try to like, pepper him with leg kicks, with jabs, be very careful at first because he doesn't want to, get KO'd. And then, of course, if he gets the chance, he's going to try to like throw some uppercuts in dirty. That's very risky, though. I don't know, man. It just comes down to like how Gaethje wants to approach this fight. If he's timid, he could still get caught, but if he rushes, then the fight's going to be over quickly.
Fellas, loser vibe check on Gaethje. During the press conference, he goes, I might win, I might get knocked out. Either way, I'm going to fight good.
And even when they were in the White House, when they were in the Oval Office, Trump was talking to Ilia and was like you're a really tough guy. Like you're probably gonna knock this guy out, huh? Literally, like he caught it even through the fog of dementia. He was able to see it, and then Gaethje was just right there. It is tough. And also, I did see an interview where Gaethje said his plan is to move forward.
He's going out. If he does that, he's out cold.
I mean, look, he can talk about his strategy all he wants at this point. You know what I mean? Like, there's no hiding that he's just going to have to, like, he's literally just throwing it at the wall and whatever sticks in this fight.
I got something. I forgot. I was watching the UFC Embedded, and Ilia Topuria and his team, they were walking around. It was at night. I think they were at maybe Logan Circle. It was one of the circles in DC. They're like, let's do our training outside. It feels great out here. Let's try to acclimate to this heat kind of. And Ilia said he felt great and this felt amazing, but I swear they weren't doing much work and he was drenched in sweat.
I mean, DC is a swamp in the summer though.
Dude, we're living in a swamp.
That's where he's going to be fighting. Gaethje's in Arizona, get some heat. I don't know.
Fellas, I don't think it's political to say that we all know that DC, like late night in some spots, it gets a little dicey. How funny would it be if on the news you just see like 3 people tried to go after this guy who they thought was this short dude wearing a hoodie and they're just all out cold?
I mean, that's exactly what would happen. Yeah. I mean, also, that's a good point because I did see a picture of Ilia recently and he looks huge. I don't know if it's edited, but he looked significantly bigger than his last title fight, and I'm wondering if he's planning a permanent move to lightweight after this fight if he wins. I mean, he looked big, so he might be holding on to more muscle.
You think he's going to try to? You think he's going to try to climb the belts like Pereira's doing?
I think his final destination is to try to go to 170, and if he's smart, maybe wait till Makhachev retires. And
I don't know. I really want to see that fight.
Of course, really do. Yeah. That was supposed to be the fight that was on this card.
That's Islam, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was supposed to be those two in the main event. That is
Georgian versus Russian for the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would it would have been better than
on the White House lawn.
yeah. That let's go to let's take a look at all of our picks from a bird's eye view. As you can see, yeah, it's nice.
I fully.
Of course.
As you
yeah.
should.
I'll tweet them
As
out.
you
I would
should.
tweet it out, obviously, so there's a record.
I actually had I would that one card where I went 9-0, a little kind of crafty bag of tricks, little veteran move. I said one thing when we were going to be covering the fights, and then I had a different thing in the table, and so I was able to just, whichever happened happens.
Kev, we all could have run the gauntlet in that stupid ass Netflix episode that you had us record if you didn't want to be contrarian with Gina Carano. That went well.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, but I got Sean Strickland right.
He's not banned, by the way, Kev. Not banned.
He's not banned. He's just not invited. I will be hoping that he does a little protest outside the White House during the fight, because I will be there. I will try to meet him.
Wait, during the fight, you're gonna try to go on Sunday night?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't really gamed that out yet, but
let's talk about that some more, definitely.
And if anything, just to like watch it at a bar somewhere. But
true.
Or if I can figure out a way to sneak back into the fan expo, because on Sunday the same thing's going to be going on during the fights. Like they're going to have that little area set up for the peasants.
Well, that's probably a good time to say to all you loyal viewers, it's past midnight, folks. For the last 30 minutes, we're basically just having a conversation, not even doing a show. But that being said, this Saturday, me and Kev are on to new territory. You will be seeing in the street vids from us two idiots. The mics showed up. We're going to have to bring some cash to incentivize people to talk to these two idiots walking around. And I may or may not print out some legal waivers just to help us out. But yeah, tune in, folks. Like I said, when we dropped that video on Tuesday, well, not all of it has been dropped yet because this is one of the busiest sports weeks of my life, but we're busy right now and we're going to just keep dropping content. We're going to keep talking ball. We're going to keep talking UFC, and they're going to be nonstop. We got big plans for all the seasons that are coming up. Thank you all. Remember to like and subscribe.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, guys. Good stuff.